Hello and welcome to Crafting by the Falls. My name is Natalie and it is that time once again. We are here to have the European Town stitch along, and this is our second video on it. And we know that this is going to be a long journey, but I have to say I'm super excited, and I'm excited to show you what I was able to get done this week. So I'm gonna just show you some of what I've done, and then I'm gonna pause, and then I'm gonna put the camera into position. I gotta put the clamps on my desk and set up my frame, and I am still stitching on the frame. I'm so happy about that. So I'm gonna pause right now because, as you can hear, Tina needs to go out. So just give me a moment and I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I should have known. The cat was on the other side of the door, and of course Tina wanted to go play. So one of the things that I did do this week, this is the book that I received from Painting Fairy, but what I went and did, I'm gonna bring this out a bit just so that you can see. I'll bring that up a bit more. I went and photocopied these 2 pages, and you can see I have the plastic protector there, but I photocopied this page because of the symbols, but I also copied this page. So I'm keeping that beside me in case I have to refer back. But I will say that as far as the printing's going, it's going really well. The only thing I was questioning was a bit of, and I'll bring it up here, the circles. There's 5 different ones. This one almost looks, black. This one's yellow with a red circle. This one's like a blue circle. This one's green with the black circle. And then this one's like a purpley color. But I've kind of figured it out on the chart, on the canvas, because this one is more of a navy. I think that's how it goes. No, that's more of a purple. This is like a light pink. So let me know if you're having that issue. And then, of course, I've printed off the chart too. Then this way, it'll save my book. Will I stitch this again? Will I ever need the book? Don't think so. The other thing is, so as far as the threads, I got them still. These are all on the cards, But as you know, with Painting Fairy, we got 2 bundles of extra floss, which was white and green. So I'll just show you what I did. These were the stickers that were on them. I just cut them. I got to put a piece of tape there just to so they can stay there. But I put the extra floss on here, and same with the white. So I did that, and then see, I'm still using my thread. I tend to pull out a strand of 6, and then I'll thread them up, and I do that. If I want to change a color, I can. So I'll flip it over just so you can see what I have gotten completed. So there's the top. That's those trees. You can't see it when I flip it over because it's so light, but that's how much I got done this week. I'm so impressed. So that's where I was mentioning. I just did that purpley right there. I got some of that done here. And then I got some of the windows done. So that's where I say you can't really notice that, but you can see how much of the green I got done. And then I've started stitching in here. So I am going to pause the camera and get this all into position, and we'll start stitching together. So here we go. I am going to be working right now on like the purple color tee, and it's this lighter green. And I apologize. Yeah, you're going to see a shadow. That sucks. I'm filming later at night. And you know, right now it gets dark at 5 o'clock, right? So I apologize. But how are you doing on your kit? Like I say, I am so impressed that I'm still working on the frame, and I'm actually enjoying it. Should I bring you up a little bit? There, is that better? Yeah, okay. So it was great seeing some of you posted on Facebook what you have gotten done for week 1. And I don't know, for some reason, I worked on this all week. It's all I wanted to work on. I think the printing for Painting Fairy is amazing. As I mentioned, I try to work on the lighter symbols, like with the white background, and then that way you see how you put the stitches in, and these colored ones really stand out. So that's what I like to do. I will probably like stitch up all these, even this, oh, you can't see, but like there's these pink crosses right here, pink X's. I'll start stitching on those, and then you can see that it'll leave these colored blocks. If you can hear, oh, they're gone. Tom and Jerry were in here Tina and the cat. Poor cat. Tina harasses her, chases her, and they play hide and go seek, and they're quite the pair. But it's nice they got each other for company. Yeah. So I thought, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna talk about? And so I think what I thought, well, I know a lot of you just seen me for the first time on camera. And as I've told you, I don't like to be on camera. I feel more comfortable now being behind the camera. So I thought, well, maybe I'll start talking a bit about myself, because we're all friends here, and let you know a little bit about my life. So I don't have this written down, so I may jump all over the place. I don't know, but you guys are so great. So I am 55 years old, and I have one daughter, and she is 28, and her name is Destiny. And I think it's so great that she has become my destiny for sure. Her father and I separated when she was 2, and it's been her and I all along. Single mom. Didn't get much support. Well, I didn't get any support, really, financially. And he kind of disappeared, and just recently has reconnected with her. So that's great for her. I guess I will start at, I don't even know where to begin. I guess I'll start off saying in high school, because that's where kind of my journey started. When I was in high school, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. You know, that age, it's kind of figuring out what you want to do for the rest of your life. And I was fortunate on the high school that I went to. It was the only high school in the city that was like this, but it was a trade school. And so we had our regular classes of math, English, and all that, but we also had trades, and I got to do chef training, baking, floriculture, horticulture, hairdressing. Oh, what other classes did I do? But it was really great because I kind of liked hairdressing. But then when we got to, and this would have been in the 80s, when we got to the part of doing perms and doing rollers, I was just like, yeah, this is not for me. So I started getting into taking a lot of accounting classes because I wanted to get into retail. I liked that. I liked accounting. I liked doing books, math. But then I ended up taking a health class, and I think that would have been grade 10 or 11. And I wanted to get into the daycare, and I wanted to work with kids because when I was 9 years old, our neighbors down the street ended up having a set of twins, twin girls, and they weren't identical. One was blonde and the other one had brown hair. And the one with the brown hair, they ended up naming her after me. So it was Natalie and Jennifer. And at 9 years old, I was down there all the time taking care of them. Their dad would call when the mom would go out, and he needed help feeding them and bathing them. And so after, I think they were 5 years old when they moved away. And anyways, all through my teenage years, I babysat, and so I thought, oh, I want to get into daycare. And I have to thank my healthcare teacher, because she's seen something in me, and she's like, Natalie, I want you to go to this school. And again, you got to remember the 80s. The handicapped kids went to a separate school, and she's like, I want you to go to this school. And I was like, no, I want to go work at a daycare. And she's like, Natalie, I want you to go try it out. Well, I'm stubborn. And she said, I'll make a deal with you. And I was like, what's that? She goes, you go to that school for a week, and if you don't like it, I promise you, I'll place you anywhere you want to go for daycare. Deal's on. I'm like, okay. So I went to the school, and I'll have to say the first day was a little scary because I never dealt with any children or adults that were mentally or physically handicapped at that time. Well, by the end of the week, my teacher says, well, how did it go? And I was like, I want to stay at the school. So I ended up, I did my co-op placement for, would have been a semester, and absolutely loved it. It was just so rewarding, I felt. So that summer, my parents aren't originally from this area. They were from the north. So my aunt called me, and she's like, there's a job in the newspaper for working with children at a summer camp for the mentally handicapped. And I was like, oh yeah? She goes, well, you should apply for it. I said, well, I live down here. You know, they're not going to hire me. Well, you should put your resume in just in case. So I ended up, I put my resume in. I got a phone call, and it ended up, I had an interview on the phone, and I was hired. So I moved up north, And when I say up north, I moved about 10 hours away from here. But I was very fortunate. I got to live with my granny, who was my mom's mom. So I moved in there for the summer. Just blown away back then. Actually got hired for a job over the phone, right? Does that happen anymore? I don't know. So, I ended up doing that, and it was a summer program for these kids. And am I still on camera here? Yeah. So there was originally 3 of us hired, but it ended up, the one girl that was hired, she got fired within a week or 2. She wasn't around long, and it ended up being myself and another girl, and we were in charge of about, I think, 20 kids, and 3 times a week, so like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we were in a church, and we had the program there, and we had to do activities and stuff like that, but we also had to plan all this, get the supplies ready. And then on Tuesdays and Fridays, we were out and about. Either we took a child out one-on-one and did something with them, or we did, we'd set up like to bring them to therapeutic horseback riding or swimming, whatever we planned. So I did that for the summer, went back to high school to get my credits. The following summer, I got the phone call from my boss for the summer program. Do you want to come back? Of course. So I went back again for another summer, and of course we knew all the kids because it was a smaller town, and got to work with them again. Moved back home, and then finished off my grade 12, and got a phone call again from my boss, and she's like, you want to come back? And I was like, I can't come back because I was hired as a student. And I said, I'm not going to school. And she's like, well, that's okay. We'll say you're going to go to school and you just decided you're not going back to school. Okay. So I went back for a 3rd year, did that. It was really great. Worked with kids that were autistic, Down syndrome, mentally and severely handicapped. I had one little boy, oh, how old? He must have been about 4 or 5. He was nonverbal, was in like a stroller wheelchair, and yeah, I had to feed him, change him. And then we had someone that had MS, someone that had MD, and that was sad because I got quite attached to this little boy that had MD, or MS, sorry. And he ended up passing away a couple years after we finished working with him, which was really sad. But So after that, what did I do? Well, I can say that I did all my healthcare classes, and I never went to do my final test. And I ended up working in the field, and 10 years later, I had to go back to college, redo the whole program, because at that point, everywhere was going to the point that you couldn't work without your papers. So I went back to school. My daughter was a year old. I went back full time and did my program, graduated. And in the meantime, when I was working up north, I worked at a group home. And again, we're talking late 80s, beginning of 90s. Things have changed so much since then, but I worked for a company called Community Living, which was working with mentally, physically handicapped adults, and you had different degrees of their handicapped, and these group homes were just being built and opening. The group home I was at was for severely handicapped adults that were still in the institutions. And so when they left the institution, they came to the group home I was at. And it was a full-size house. Of course, it was a bungalow because all the ladies, and we had all ladies, it was 5 ladies. They ranged from ages 17 to, I think the oldest one was about 43. So, but all of them had mentalities of like 2-3-month-old babies. We had to feed them, change them, everything, bathe them. They couldn't do anything on their own. A lot of them had epilepsies, having seizures all the time. But I have to say, I think that was my favorite job. I would crawl into bed with some of the ladies when it was bedtime. And I didn't have a child at that time, so they became my babies. And I would read them books, sing songs. And it was such a huge difference for them to be out of the institution and into the group home, because as time moved on, they would have multiple seizures a day. And as time moved on, the seizures slowly stopped not having as many. And this is, I'm thinking here and remembering, we were young. And I don't know, I guess we figured we'd conquer the world. The other girls that I worked with, like, we were all great. It just became one big family. It was happy there. And so the other group homes got to go to a camp for the week. And we couldn't. And we're like, why? Like, that's not fair. So we talked to our boss about it, and she's like, no, we can't do it. It's not in the budget because, you know, you guys are going to be out there 24 hours, 7 days. You know, we can't pay for that. Well, we all agreed that we'd be willing to do our shifts, but still remain there. And, you know, we would volunteer to help the other girls if it wasn't our scheduled shift. And, well, we got to do it. And so we brought the ladies out to the camp, and it was a special camp that was set up for wheelchairs and everything. And what a hoot. We had so much fun, but it was just amazing to see. The one that was the oldest, she heard the birds for the first time, and it was just amazing to see her reaction to that. And that whole week that we were out there, not one of the ladies had a seizure. And we just thought it was so amazing. They totally enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. But it was just nice to see them be with Mother Nature. So I did that for 5 years. And as I mentioned, I did not have my papers. And that's when everything started coming into, well, you need a diploma. So at that time, that's when I kind of met my daughter's father. Him and I were not married. We were common law. I was with him 7 years, and my daughter was born. We were together 5 years before we had her. And he had his own business at that time. And so he had a mini putt and batting cages, and then inflatables, those little bouncy castles the kids jump on. And then later on, again, this is seasonal work because who goes mini putting in the winter and snow? So what else did we have? Later on, we got a chip stand, and I ended up operating the chip stand, and he did the mini putt. And then I wanted to get back into working, back into nursing. So when my daughter was a year old, I went back to school and got my diploma. And I'll put the picture up on the screen. It's my, oh, I'm out of screen. Sorry. I hope I haven't been out of camera range for a while. Trying to think and stitch at the same time sometimes doesn't work. So yeah, I went back to school full time when my daughter was not even a year old. I got that completed. So then, of course, with going back to school, we had co-op we had to do, and We had to do community, which is working in the community. And then we also had to do so many hours in a nursing home. So we went to a private nursing home and worked there for some time. Then we went to another nursing home that was run by the city. And what a day and night difference. I enjoyed my work. I enjoyed working on the floor, but the thing that bothered me so much was we were in there as students and we were helping out the other nurses, and I think I had like 5 people to get up when we started our shift, and we had to get them down to the cafeteria in such a short time frame. And I hated it because I just thought it was an assembly line. And we were in there helping these girls, and if it wasn't for us, they would have had to get up, like each girl something like 30 people, and have them down for breakfast. And anyways, then we went over to the regional home, and it was day and night difference. But did that, and then we did community, and I worked at 2 different companies for the program, and one of them was Red Cross, and that was going from house to house, helping assist seniors. And then the other community I did was, how can I explain this? It was called Access to Better Living, and it was an apartment building that was in the shape of an L. So there was apartments this way, and then it went long way. And from the outside, you could access each apartment individually, but then inside was the hallway for the staff to go into each unit. So, you know, if we were working midnights or whatever, it was safe. Like, it was all locked down. No one from the public could come in. And so, worked there, and with those people, it was paraplegics or quadriplegics, and it was either caused by a disease or an accident, their condition, but all of them were in wheelchairs, and again, it was assisting them with their daily living. So at the end of the program, it was really nice. I got an offer for every placement. I got a job offer for every place I worked. So it was a really hard decision. The nursing homes paid more, but I found I enjoyed working in that Access to Better Living, working with the paraplegics and stuff like that. So I ended up choosing to go on that route. You'll see that I kind of have this period of, I pretty well did everything about every 5 years I changed. I like challenges. My mom would always say to me, you're so special. And I hated hearing that. I'd be like, Mom, stop it. No, I'm not special. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. And it wasn't till, oh God, years later that I realized what she meant by that. Because I know not everybody can do this work, but I have to say that I've been very fortunate to love going to work every day, find it so rewarding on being able to be a part of these people's lives that depend upon you. And I just think I've been so blessed that I've been able to do things that I love. And getting back into the schooling, I chose to be a PSW. And the PSW stands for Personal Support Worker. And I chose that for a couple different reasons. First one was I didn't think I was smart enough to become a nurse. But I also didn't like the fact that, times change, but the nurses just did a lot of reporting and stuff like that. And then there's the next one under the RN, which is registered nurse, is the RPN, which is the registered practical nurse. And basically, again, this was in the hospitals or nursing homes and that, but basically the RPN's job was giving out medication. I didn't want to do that. I wanted hands-on. I wanted to work with the people and do that. So that's why I chose that route. The other thing. So besides doing that, getting back to my daughter's father's business and stuff like that, in the winter time, again, you do what you have to do to make money, but we used to make candy floss, and we would make candy floss, bag it up, seal it, box it up, and it got shipped off further up north to a lot of the reserves. And so we did that. We also did, I was 9 months pregnant, still making candy floss. Still remember that. My stomach was out so far that when I was making the candy floss, I had to be sideways and make the candy floss. Oh boy. Yeah, so did that. So then I graduated in June, and then in July, my daughter's father wanted to end the relationship. So I was going to stay up north because I had the job, but unfortunately, I couldn't afford to be on my own with my daughter. So, of course, my mom was like, come back home. You got a room. You got your father and I will take care of her while you work, you know. So in September, we moved back to this area of Niagara. Moved in with mom and dad. Yeah, that's a challenge. You've been out on your own and then come back home, but very thankful they did that. I ended up, at that point, I had my mom and dad babysit. So that was great because who hired full-time? Nobody. So I ended up, I had 4 part-time jobs. 3 of them were in nursing. And the 4th one was my friend's mother had a restaurant, a fish and chip restaurant. So I would go up there on Fridays and help her with that. So that continued on, oh boy, I think it was 1.5 years. I lived with my parents. Had to get back on my feet, and I ended up getting into, at that point, what did I do? I worked for, as I said, community. And so I'd go from house to house with the seniors. And then I also got a job at a nursing home that was privately owned. And it was a German nursing home. Oh, I used to love lunchtime. At the German nursing home, lunchtime, 12 o'clock noon, is their big dinner. And I ended up being in supportive housing there. So this, it was very interesting. Like I say, it was German owned, and you had to be German to be in there, and it was really neat. The one end of the building was independent living, which was apartment buildings, and then at the other end was the nursing home. And the nursing home had several different floors, but it also had different levels of care there. And then they built a condo building across the street that was totally independent, like living. So they just didn't require assistance. So I was supportive housing, so I would go from apartment to apartment, helping them in whatever form they needed help. But what was really cool about that nursing home was a lot of the husbands were over in the nursing home, and the wives were still in the apartment. And so they would go see their husband for a while, then go back to their apartment, and yeah, vice versa. But what I was getting back to, the lunch, oh, used to love it. They would have schnitzel at lunchtime. And I used to love getting lunch there. I love food. Oh boy. So, then what else did I do? Then it got to a point, again, it was all part-time work. I ended up then going to work also with the March of Dimes. And the March of Dimes, the program that I worked in was an apartment building. But in that apartment building was just also regular people living there. There was also seniors that lived there that were on the program with the March of Dimes. And nothing was wrong with them except they needed assistance, say, for showering or dinners or stuff like that. And then we had people with heavier care that were MS or paraplegics and wheelchairs and stuff like that. So I ended up, after being there for some time, I ended up getting full-time position. So unfortunately, I had to quit the German nursing home. I remember when I left, I remember going down the hallway crying. But anyways, so yeah, the March of Dimes, a lot of clients. We had seniors, which we were the only program in Ontario that had seniors. It was a trial project to see if that was something they were going to start getting into, but a lot of our clients had MS, and Niagara, the Niagara region has a higher than normal population of people with MS. And so we had a lot of them that were MS. And as I say, there was the building program, which I did for some time. And then if I wanted to gain extra hours, I did some community, which was going in your car to different homes. So I did that for a while. And then don't want to talk about this too much, but then I met my ex-husband, and just going to touch lightly on this because I just, it's not been a good, it wasn't a good part of my life. So anyways, I was with him for 4 years, and then we got married for 2 years, and then, yeah, separated. But in the meantime, he also had a business, so I would help. He would be out of town a lot of the times working on jobs and in greenhouses, construction. And we had 2 large trailers that would go on the job site because they would be there for weeks, if not months, depending on what city they were in. The guys lived in the trailers, and I would cook up meals for them. And like I say, my husband would be out of town with these guys. He'd be home on the weekend, or I would go up to the job site where they were, and throughout the week I would slice up lunch meat, make meals. So with these guys, we provided them the shelter and meal while they were out of town working. And then in the meantime, I was taking care of my daughter, bringing her to school. And then I was working also as a PSW for Red Cross. And again, that was going from house to house, all through my area. I could travel up to about 45 minutes away. But that program with Red Cross was working with seniors. And so I did that for about 5 years. So altogether, I think it was about 22 years that I did that work. Finally, in 2010, a lot was happening. The marriage was not a good thing. I ended up getting rheumatoid arthritis, and I would be very crippled to the point that my daughter had to take care of me. So my doctor said a lot of it was caused by stress. My clients were passing away. It was not a good thing. My marriage was not a good thing. So that's what created all this problem. And my doctor said, you need to, your days as a PSW are over. And he says, you've done a good run. You've been doing it for over 22 years. And you need to end it. So I had to quit that work. And it was the saddest day of my life. I always felt that this was my purpose, and that was just what I was meant to be, and I didn't know what I was going to do. But I think I will end that right about at this point, because I got to save some more talking for next time, right? So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm sure I'll think of other things for next time to come up with. Yeah, there's gonna always be lots to talk about, but I don't know if you find it boring or what, but at least that gives you a little idea of what I did. That would have brought me up into, well, once again, my phone ran out of storage, but I think it kind of ended at a good spot. So, I'm going to end here for today. I want to say thank you so much for coming and spending your time with me. You know, I truly appreciate it. And I'm absolutely loving working on this canvas, but also stitching along with you. So I'm going to end here, and I will be back next Tuesday with a product review. And then the following Saturday, we will be back to work on European Town. Okay, until next time, take care. Bye for now.